other thing about it is that kills me is y'all be assuming stuff. Did you know her at that age? Did you know how she was moving? If I remember correctly, she was already fucking with Ryan Leslie, who wasn't a fucking teeny bopper either, right? She was a model, right? Again, I'm not trying to make whatever. I'm saying that y'all be trying to paint every person to be the same. There are some Benjamin Button motherfuckers out here moving. I'm not saying that's her. I'm saying until we get more information, until we know more, we automatically assume stuff, right? Just because we can resonate with the fact that she's a young woman. Yes, there's a power imbalance, part of which she also took part in before he put a fucking finger on her. Before he turned into anything, at some point, was he just taking it from jump? Because if that's what y'all telling me, then we're absolving all responsibility of everything? And then we want to throw in everything? Oh, you made a nigga get some cheesecake. I wish the prosecution would mention that bullshit.
It matters. It matters. It lends to the credibility of who he is, his integrity, his humanity. It matters.
It lends to him being a good businessman. It lends to him being a performative performer. The nigga who was dancing on stage, every step I take, yo, think what he does.
All in your video.
Come on, man.
These people that were present came out and talked about it. They talked about it in documentaries within the last 2 or 3 years. It has been, I'm not speaking just hearsay. This is what people have said they experienced while they're on set. It was a reality TV show, unscripted.
I'm not knocking that.
The nigga's guilty, yes, but he's a weirdo too.
I'm not knocking that, but this is a criminal case. I'm just pushing back on the fact that when we bring in other stuff, I get it, puffy as fuck, but this is a criminal case. And I think that what you're doing is kind of what like the prosecutors are doing, which is why I think they're going to lose. Because if you don't stay focused and you start bringing up too much shit, which is what I said before, you're going to confuse people. That's what I'm saying. Like when you start bringing up other irrelevant things, it keeps the laser-like focus to what he actually did and why it resonates with the charges. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, man. Jay? Y'all want to defend yourselves?
I was going to say, Devin's off mic. And let's remember the question on the floor was actually about Cassie and her culpability in the situation. And if she does have culpability, because a lot of people are actually blaming Cassie for being in this situation herself.
But S&M, you're a sensible. I feel like the fellas have been talking a lot on this one. At least I have for sure. And TM was like, I want to hear the fellas, okay? So what do you think, S&M, as a woman, a sensible woman, right? A woman who has moved a particular type of way, even when she was once upon. Didn't you get married at 21, if I remember correctly? I just want to make sure, right?
I did get married at 21.
Yeah, gotcha. So look at you making grown woman decisions at the age of 21.
I see what you're doing there. Doing there.
So did you just celebrate 26 years too? Like, girl, look at you being the model of making good choices at 21 in terms of how you chose to pair bond. Wow. Go ahead, SNL. What are your thoughts on this topic?
So first I want to just answer this last question pertaining to Cassie. I think Cassie started it off because she acknowledged that she did agree to it because initially he said that he enjoyed watching other people have sex with his women. And so she said she did it to make him happy. At some point that actually turned where it became, okay, I'm not comfortable with this. But she still wanted to make him happy because at this point, he started leveraging other things against her, but also she still wanted to be in the relationship with him. And so I believe the first time she said she tried to run or leave, apparently he beat her. Then later on, the security guards would chase after her and bring her back. And so it's this pattern of abuse where they talk about where even housekeepers were quitting because they saw the level of abuse towards hers. And so this is why I would say, while she may have participated in the beginning and may have done it for all the wrong reasons, i.e. I want to get my record out or because I love a person and somebody loving somebody is actually one of the main reasons why people do things. And so, but the minute that she was uncomfortable and said no, that's when it became assault. That's when it became abuse. And that's why, while she may have participated in the beginning, the minute she said that she no longer had culpability for what was happening, I'm actually more concerned about the power dynamics that was at play and why it's easier for us to shift the blame from him, her, versus recognizing that there is some power and accountability dynamics that we have a tendency to absolve men for in general when it comes to powerful men. Not everyday Joe Blow, right? Everyday Joe Blow is always, I ain't gonna lie, believe women even when sometimes the woman is lying, even if the cases of the woman lying tends to be a little bit lower than what people expect. But assume But the point is, because he's powerful, there seems to be some type of extra belief system built in place where they're like, well, she was a social climber, or she knew what she was getting into because, but no one knows that they're getting into being sex trafficked. No one knows that they're getting into this lifeline of being abused. And no one knows the psychological torture and so forth that may come from this that made her feel like. That's why when people ask domestic violence folks, well, why didn't you leave? Well, it's a lot of things that goes into that's why you have the battered wife syndrome and so forth to explain why people didn't leave a situation. So I believe that Cassie went in with her eyes wide open. I believe that she went in because there's conversations that she actually played and teased Kim before Kim ended up mysteriously unalived. And so I believe that in the very beginning, she thought she was special and it proved otherwise. And that's where it went wrong for her. But at the end of the day, the amount of shame that's going on Cassie versus on Diddy, I also believe that it's very telling of where we are in a society where it's always blame the victim versus where's his. And I want to say, even though we're saying blame the victim, the fact that he's on trial and people are trying to downplay it, including himself, because he did plead not guilty. He said everything was consensual and therefore it's just a monetary grab. But in her case, she already got the money. So what is she grabbing now? What is she aiming for now? And so oftentimes we talk about women and these sexual abuse cases, then we say, well, why didn't they, or like with the Shannon Sharp situation, right? With the OnlyFans chick, well, why didn't she file criminal charges, right? Well, he does have criminal charges. So why is it so hard to believe? And we got evidence. I'm not saying it's hard to believe, but why are we still putting the blame mostly on her when we just found out that they have hundreds of witnesses to this? And so I agree with Nick in this regard, though. I think there's so much salacious information here that there's a chance that they might lose. There may be a lot of people who might be like, you know what, this is just sex. All we heard was sex. Prove to me, even if you're saying illegal, prostitution was illegal, well, prostitution is also the oldest profession. And so you're saying it's illegal. They didn't care. That's why it's the oldest profession and it's the most profitable if you look at it, sex sells. So there's a high chance if they don't start focusing on their actual racketeering and the coercion piece, then there's a big chance that they will lose this case if they keep keeping it to sex. Because ultimately, why are we not talking about the fact that he told Cassie if he see her with Kid Cudi allegedly, again, he gonna blow up Kid Cudi car, and next thing you know, Kid Cudi car was blown up. You know what I'm saying? So why don't we hear more about that type of stuff, which shows the power that he may have had, the control that he had in a situation that he leveraged his money. And now that's where it'll be. But I don't know. All this sex talk, and no matter how disgusted people are, I think if they keep focusing on it, there's a large possibility it may not go the way they want it to go.